Alright, so this is your intro video into our new learning target. I can determine a linear equation that matches a table. So when we talk about linear equations, what we're talking about is the equation that's written with, starting with a y, and then we have an equation, so we definitely have an equal sign, and then we have some kind of number. So let's take example like a 5. Actually, let's pick a different number. Let's say like a 3. And then we have an x, right? So remember, we call this the coefficient of x. And so what we're going to be looking at here is, well, what can I plug in for x, multiply by 3, and does it give me y? So we're going to look at what we call substitution. And when we look at substitution, we're plugging in to see if we can get something out. All right, so let's go take a look at some examples. So in this first one, it wants to know which of these equations best represents this table. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these, and remember this, we're going to look at the x values, we're going to plug them into each of these equations to figure out which one gives me the y value. So when we're looking at a table, we have to remember that these are the x values and this is the y values. If we had a vertical table, x, y. So we're going to literally take, every time we see an x, like for example, here I have an x, here I have an x, and here I have an x. And instead of writing x, we're going to take one of these numbers from this table that are an x value and plug it in to see if it gives me a y. So for example, let's take the first one. Y equals x plus 20. I want to know if I take an x value, plug it in, add 20, will it give me its y? So let's take a look. So if I take and I remove the x and I substitute my first x value of 1 in, well, 1 plus 20 is going to give me 21. Here I see when x is 1, y has to be 12, so therefore that cannot be my correct answer. Alright, so let's take a look at the next option we have here. So again, notice they all start with y because, like we talked about, input-output tables. You guys know about input-output. I'm inputting a value for x, doing some math, and seeing if it kicks out the y value that I'm looking for. So the next one says 15 times some number for x. So my first x is 1, so I'm going to plug it in. 15 times 1 gives me 15. So this equation says that when x is 1, y has to be 15. Again, doesn't match. So that's not our equation. Okay, so we're down to one more, which we've determined that's the correct answer by process of elimination. But let's double check to make sure it's right. So this one says the output y is equal to 12 times the input of x. So let's plug in a 1. So 12 times 1 is 12. That matches. Okay, so you should always do more than 1 point just to confirm. So let's put in a 3. 12 times 3 is 36. That matches. Let's go back and check one more time with the 5 just to be 100% sure that we are correct. 12 times 5 is 60. That is right. So therefore that is our equation. So we're taking these x values here, okay, and we are plugging them in. These are my x values, and we're plugging them in for x in each of these equations to see which one gives me these y's. So let's look at another type of example. So in this case, we're given an equation and we have to match the table. So you have to choose which table matches the relationship for the equation y equals 3x. So what I notice about this is all the tables start with 5. So these are going to be my input. So remember, input for x, output for y. So it would be a good idea for you to label all your tables here. So let's plug in for a 5, since that's my first one, into my equation. So I get y is equal to 3. And remember, I'm plugging in 5 from the x. That's going to give me 15. So for this equation, when x is 3, y has to be 15. Well, that one has a 1, so that one's not it. That one has a 3, that one's not it. So we're down to 2 choices. Because we see that here, I have 15. Alright, so the next number is 10. So now I just need to plug in y equals 3 times 10. Well, 3 times 10 is 30. So if I look which table I'm looking at, so I have 10 and 30, 10 and 18. Well, 10 and 18 is not 10 and 30, so therefore that's not right. So my correct answer is C. So what we're doing today is looking at substituting values into what we call proportional relationships, right? So these nice and easy. I have a coefficient that multiplies by an input and it gives me an output. Coefficient that multiplies by an input and it gives me an output. Right? So these are what we're looking at today. All right, so today then you also have a Desmos activity to work on. If you have any questions, please let your teacher know. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.